In this video, I'm showing you 3 pelvic floor release exercises that you can do during pregnancy to prepare for an easier birth and delivery. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to my channel and press the bell button below so you don't miss any of my pelvic floor tips for an empowering birth and postpartum recovery. Since your baby will have to go through your pelvic floor muscles in the pushing stage, that's why we want our pelvic floor to be as flexible and relaxed as possible so your baby has very minimal resistance when trying to come out. Our hope is that it's going to all translate into a smoother and shorter pushing stage and a decreased risk of severe vaginal tears. So our first exercise will be a deep squat stretch. So I am 17 weeks pregnant right now and I'm going to need a little prop because my belly is starting to get in the way. But feel free to, if you're earlier in pregnancy or if you feel like your bump is not in the way, you can definitely take it off. And I mean, I could do it without it. It's just not comfortable in the lower abdomen. You want your feet to be nice and flat. They don't need to be pointing forward. You are welcome to open on the side. And have your elbows inside your knees and pushing your knees out a little bit. So here what we want to do is focus on our pelvic floor area. So we remember that our pelvic floor is around the vagina and anus. So tuning into these muscles and letting them relax. All right, so you should feel a little bit of a stretch here. Breathing into the belly to invite these muscles to open and bloom. Tuning into releasing the tensions around the vagina and anus. And we're gonna take 10 nice belly breaths here. So if you can hold that position for that long, that's great. If you can't, then you can take a break halfway, no problem. We really wanna keep everything relaxed in the hips, in the legs. So if you have any knee condition or hip condition that doesn't allow you to get into that position comfortably, this is not the best exercise for you. There's gonna be 2 more options coming up, so stay tuned. And so also just a note that the squat position is also a great labor position, especially before the crowning stage. It can be really nice to have your baby come down farther into your pelvis. So if you don't do it for 9 months and you never get into that position, then how do you think you'll be able to do that when you're in labor, right? So that's why I find it really nice to just maintain that mobility through your pregnancy. This way it's an available option for you during your labor if you feel like squatting. And so at home, when I watch a show or I brush my dog or, any activity you're doing in your daily life that you can integrate some deep squat. If you have a garden and you're weeding your garden, go into a deep squat, right? And that's just going to include it in your daily life so it doesn't become this chore of oh yeah, I need to do my pelvic floor release exercises, right? It's just part of your day. Our second release exercise for a pelvic floor will be happy baby. If being on your back during pregnancy triggers any symptoms of dizziness or short of breath or nausea, you want to avoid being straight on your back. So you will want to prop yourself up with a few pillows or just simply avoid the stretch and focus on the other ones in this video. So I know that for myself, I am okay being on my back at this stage, but I mean, I'm always constantly reassessing how my body is feeling and modifying as needed. So for happy baby, we can have option A, grabbing my ankles, or I could also grab my big toes. So what we want is to really focus on releasing the pelvic floor again, right? I don't want to just focus on my legs. I want to let go of my pelvic floor and let it melt as I'm breathing into my belly again. So picture letting go of tensions around the vagina, the anus. Picture it like opening, making space. And as I'm breathing, I can always release a tiny bit more every breath. One more tension that I had kind of held on to that I'm letting go. So 10 breaths here. And our third pelvic floor release exercise will be child pause. So child pause, you want to have your knees out. And here we're just going to tune into your pelvic floor again and letting go of the tensions around the anus and vagina. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the pelvic floor. Every breath we're letting go a little longer, a little more. And again, 10 breaths here. Including these pelvic floor release exercises a few times a week throughout your pregnancy will ensure that your pelvic floor remains flexible for your birth, so it's easier for your baby to come out in the pushing stage. If you would like more concrete tips to prepare your pelvic floor for a first positive and empowering birth, please download my free book in the description below. It is for newly pregnant mamas, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of helpful tips in there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and that you share it with a pregnant friend who is also interested in preparing her pelvic floor for an empowering birth. Thanks for watching.